Hello and welcome. I'm going to look at pretty much every market in this video, and I don't mean every market, but gold, silver, the dollar index, the stock market, Bitcoin, and Litecoin. And as quickly as I can on each one. All bets trades of the like within each his own risk and their own reward. The gold price, after spending several days below the 18 average of lows, has proceeded to make a move up towards the 18 of highs and still lower than this level. This is enough for the 18 is both starting to flatten and barely rise as well from what was a barely declining moment, but overall still neutral in this range between the 1283 and really up towards the 1321 mark. Looking at this upon single hour term time frame, as it made it up to this resistance level at April yesterday morning, was able to successfully correct this. And it looks right now, as we're looking at this particular hour and the previous one as it plays, that we had the big move on the last period, getting to highs not seen in quite some time, but really a matching high to this one in here. But how it's holding and staying within this move in here, I find to be just fantastic within it. Let's put a line on here. Look at this on a very much shorter term time frame. Here's a 5 minute. There we have breaking out above that line, coming back to it. And now it looks as I'm doing this, it's just ready and poised to make that of a new high. Silver has some really weird 5 minute looks. I'm not going to put too much into it. Within the hour, we have this higher floor supporting from what was this floor in here. On the daily chart, this is that higher floor from that one. And the 18 average on gold of the daily starting to flatten and rise. This one's just starting to flatten as it stays within this price point. And on its more longer term chart, say the weekly, has had this level of resistance established back to this band, but so far struggling within it. But it's also holding this level of support as well. And let's move on next to the dollar index. On its weekly, showing a lot of strength amongst this 18 average of highs and this previous level of resistance. More often you test it, more likely you take it out, and because it's congesting more towards this area after having two good 18 of average of lows lift off support areas, this wouldn't surprise me if this manages to make a move over into the 98s as its possibility. Within the daily term, it still has to get out above this 18 average of highs because it's in this correctionary mode. And moving on next towards the stock market, with using that of the SPY in at 287 and a third. All of these very tiny individual days, even more so with all of the gaps, but price action did get above the 18 average of highs. The day following March 29th on April the 1st, which is really 3 days following, it's just this market closes. A decentralized market. Well, it had to be programmed to do so. I'm glad that the other ones don't close. We'll get into Bitcoin in a little while, but the weekly chart managing to continue to move up towards this previous level of resistance. Well, it's already there. It's pierced below and it pierced above here, but in that pierced below that actual high. So the next stage is an actual hit, and the next one above that would be a pierce above. When it's ready to have a correction, I'll be looking at the 18 average to do such. Moving on to Bitcoin, and there'll be a much more longer in-depth analysis on cryptos later on the afternoon, evening, or early nighttime, most likely afternoon. And I'm liking how this is holding and staying above this after this move high comes back down to key Fibonacci. Has about 4 consecutive days lifting off, and maybe this is a second pause day in a row, but getting it above this established level of resistance, which is in and around 5,304 or 53.44. Getting and holding and staying above this, having a significant move that is poised for me for its next resistance area test, or likely resistance area test within my, or via that of my calculations of exponential Fibonacci, not the Fibonacci which is what other people think. This is to me the genuine, as it's supposed to be calculated in retracement form. 6,350 or so is the next target. Within Litecoin, I don't have lines drawn in this one, but 125 is where I have my upside target for this, as the previous Fibonacci at around 60 was very little at that of resistance. And within its week, obviously it's holding so far. The week is halfway through, or a few days into it anyway. Among the daily, it has its big move up on the, well, 2 day move, completing on April the 3rd. Correctionary back to its the next day down to 80. It hasn't been down that level since. Has a couple days later going back to previous high near 100, and has just stayed within really this low volatile tight range, although percentage moves overall. It may not seem like it's all that tight when we see, okay, this is a high of 100 almost, we'll say 97 change. We have a low in here at about 84 and change. That's about a 13 differential. That's still 18% or so from low to high. Regardless of how it is in that sideways mode. We can obviously establish resistance hair below 100. Support levels where we got this one here at about 85. We had this previous hit level at about 81. Add that this level here at 76 as potential levels of resistance. There's always going to be Fibonacci. Calculated correct is high divided by low. What's the low? Well, a breakout low could easily be what? There's one in this case. And then, of course, to the root of, I'd be looking for 0.618 and then 0.382 as the exponential numbers, then multiply the low again. Maybe you want to pick this low because it's just an actual low, but it's not because we got, well, one of the ones you can pick. If you want to pick, I think you either pick this low here, and that's like a short-term move, or we're going to have to pick these just big, big lows here. So when there's a correction that's going to come into play at a longer term, I'm going to be looking at the lows of about $22 and this high as one of the retracements for Fibonacci. And then for the short term, as mentioned before, and we'll go back to the 4 hour to do it, from the breakout lows to this one. And this would probably be close to 38. I'd be looking for the 61.8 because obviously the next key levels of support are pretty much these previous lows. And then breaking down, we'd be looking at about 68. But it's got to show us that first. And because we're inside the 18 in this, we've already established this level of support and resistance. And we're really, really doing well considering it's staying at the higher end of this established point, considering point A low and point B high. And this does give me the beneficiary bias towards that of the buyers, but price is always going to do what it's going to do. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll be back again in a few hours. Bye-bye.